So we've been back in the sanctuary for about a month now, and the pandemic has changed the way we worship. The question is, has it changed the way we worship for good? I guess that's not really a fair question, right? It's a loaded question. It can mean two things. Have the changes we've implemented in worship because of the pandemic been positive changes? Were they for the good? Or have the changes we implemented because of the pandemic been permanent changes? Are these changes that are going to be in place or are going to impact our worship for good? I think we need to think about both questions because there will obviously be some who are unhappy with a change in worship, and there will be some who are just ecstatic about worship being different than what it was before, but does it mean that it will always be this way? That's the question. Guys, if you haven't been to Dark Side yet, I recommend that you take a visit and get their house latte. So, yes, the pandemic will have a permanent effect on how we worship. And yes, I, for one, love a lot of the changes that came about because of the pandemic. But here's the issue. Here's something we gotta think about. I don't know yet the influence or the impact it will have long term on our churches and on our spiritual lives. Now, a lot of the changes probably agree with our personal preferences because most of our services are now shorter, they're condensed. And as a pastor, I like this, right? Because it helps us to focus on what's most important during worship. The pitfall of that is that we're developing a culture of get in and get out in a hurry. It's almost like drive-through church. Now, I know people make the argument that it shouldn't take all day, it don't take all of that, but there is something about fellowship and worship that helps us, that feeds our souls, that nourishes a part of us, that helps us throughout the week and helps us in our individual lives on a daily basis. So the long-term effects are yet to be seen, but I think that something good can come out of these changes if we take advantage of them and if we take the time to reflect. So I want to know from you, what changes have your churches made when it comes to worship? Have they had a positive impact? Are they having a negative impact? Do you think these changes will be permanent? What can we do differently? What have we learned from being outside of the sanctuary that will help us to be stronger churches moving forward?